There are many species of dragons in this world. In this program, we will show you the basics of how to tool a dragon on leather. When you have learned these skills, you will be able to tool many species of dragons on leather, and you'll be able to apply them to a multitude of projects. Here are two books that will be very helpful to you when learning to do dragons on leather, as well as other Celtic patterns. There are also several craft aids available that help you to do dragons and other Celtic art. Since I'm going to do a picture, I have selected some 6 to 7 ounce. It's very important that we use vegetable tanned leather. And now I will take some clean water and a sponge, and I will dampen my leather quite thoroughly. Not to the point where it's soggy, but we need it fairly damp, but certainly not soggy. Now we'll put it aside for a few minutes until it begins to return to its natural color. My leather is beginning to return to its natural color, so now I can start my tracing. Please note I have taped my tracing to the top, and I have traced from a book onto my tracing film. Now I've taped it up here so that I can lift it up and down and check my progress. I'll first start here and just do one line. I'm pressing not real hard. As you can see, the line is nice and visible. So we will continue tracing now all of the lines on our pattern. Not pressing real deep, just deep enough so we can see the lines. If you press too deep, you will have difficulty when you start to do your swivel knife cutting. So only deep enough so that we can see it, and from time to time we'll check it to see how we're doing. You'll notice I am putting some dotted lines on here. This is, we will show you later why dotted lines as opposed to solid lines. The solid lines we will cut with a swivel knife, and the dotted lines we will just do some modeling. And it appears that our pattern is fairly well complete, so now we can continue. We are now ready to do our swivel knife cutting, and I prefer to use a 1/4 inch angle blade. In this case it's ceramic, which never needs sharpening. However, it does need stropping. So we will strop it on this piece of cardboard that's been treated with jeweler's rouge, and then we can begin our cutting. I'll cut about halfway through the thickness of the leather. I like to cut the foremost lines first, so in this case I would be cutting this leg. So we will cut this leg and this foot. I'm cutting all of the solid lines that I have traced. Do the claw very carefully. And now I will continue with the belly scales. I will cut them two different ways. I will cut first the lines between the scales, as you can see me doing here. Notice I'm getting an arc to each one. And then I will come back and do the outer edge, as you can see. Not real deep here. And now I can continue here if I want with that back leg. Notice I turn the leather to keep the cuts coming toward my body. Now I will begin on the head. Here again, I will cut that tooth first because it overlaps the lower jaw. The nostril I'll cut rather deep. And now I'll carefully complete the nose. Notice we have some ridges up here. I'll do those with little curved cuts with my swivel knife. Lower part of the jaw, I'll cut, as you can see. And then I will come back and cut the curves on the outer edge. And there's a beard here, so we will cut the outline of the beard. We will do some more cutting on the beard later on after we have done all our beveling. And the same thing is true with the hair on top of the head. We'll cut the outline of the locks first. And then we'll do some more cutting later on. I would like to give you a close-up of cutting the eye. Please note I'm cutting the upper eyelid first, and then I will cut the lower lid, being very careful not to go past the upper lid. This is how our dragon looks after we have completed all of the swivel knife cutting. Here are the three bevelers we're going to use. One is B702, B701, and B936. These are used to create depth and dimension on your picture. Here's an example of how the beveler would work. I have this leg which is in the foreground, so to make the leg stand out from the rest of the dragon and back of it, as you can see, I put the long end into the cut and tap it with my mallet. The rule of thumb is you bevel away from that part that you want to stand up. We do some more work on the leg. I'll start out lightly, and then I'll start tapping a little harder. Now, as I bevel the other side of the leg, you can see that the leg is now standing out from the belly scales along here and the other part of the body. As I get down here to these toes, I will not stamp quite as hard. I just need to separate these toes. And now the upper part, I can stamp a little deeper. And on the claws, I'll stamp very lightly. The finer the detail, the lighter the stroke of the mallet. As you can see now, we have a pretty good looking leg. To do these belly scales now, I will stamp these very lightly in between the individual scales. Now on the outside of the scales, I will stamp a little deeper. And this will separate the belly part of the dragon from the leg that's on the other side. And now I can bevel the outside of the other leg. And now you can see that the foremost part of our dragon is beginning to take shape. You will notice a slight difference between the beveling we did here and the beveling we did here. That's because here the belly scales go underneath the leg and here they do not. So the beveling here is in the other direction and very, very light, just so we get a little bit of separation between the body of the dragon and the belly scales.